Hello Aries friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Aries January 2021 Astrology Must Knows. Happy New Year! I'm sure I'm not the only one that's kind of excited to get certain aspects of 2020 behind me. And we do start out with a brand new shiny new year in the way that we don't have any personal planets retrograde. Sometimes when we have a personal planet retrograde at the beginning of the year, it doesn't feel like a new year. But this year will definitely feel like a new year. And that is because not only are there no planets no personal planets retrograde, there are no planets retrograde. This is a very rare occurrence in the sky that all the planets, including the outer planets, are going to be moving into the direct pattern. Even all the star goddess asteroids, everybody's moving forward. So we can make up for a massive amount of lost time. A massive amount of stagnation can be cracked through. And I know I have Aries rising, so I know how you all are. We want progress, and we have been rumping around like a bull in a china shop, ready for things to move forward. So there's going to be a lot of forward movement and making up for a lot of lost time. That's a first must know. The second thing is that this first half of January is very different than the second half of January because we've got all of this crazy openness in the stars for making big decisions and, taking action and doing important things, signing paperwork, doing what we got to do. But as the middle of the month comes, we start sliding into Mercury retrograde. And so the whole second half of the month is all about sliding back into that more internal space, that space where we're kind of dealing with things closer to us, that place where we're kind of clearing up unfinished business and more uncertainty and confusion, and things get called into question and plans get changed or seem to be changed. That all happens in the retrograde time. Okay, so we get deeper into that as January goes on, and then February is full of that. But don't worry, March is going to be amazing. Probably my favorite month of the whole year is March, actually. And we've got so many sweet aspects. So any ruckuses that are getting, happening, or that when we slip back into the retrograde, it's going to open up into that time, and it's going to be really, really positive and supportive and just different than it has been for a while. So this month, we've got a lot of things to celebrate, and I'm going to talk about them. We've got a lot of things to celebrate specifically for Aries too, but we have some things to watch out for. Those types of changes that we had last year, they're not done yet. And this month is going to start to show us how they're not done yet. We've got an epic outer planet clash. Those epic outer planet clashes are what really created the transitions and the crazy occurrences that happened in 2020. Those were all astrologically led. And if you want to have more insight into that retrospectively, search for my video. If you just search for Annie Botticelli coronavirus, you can see my video on how astrology explains the coronavirus and the breakdowns of the market and all of that kind of stuff to get a perspective of what's going on and what we're stepping into. But we've got more of those outer planet clashes. One of them this month, Jupiter is going to square the planet Uranus. And actually, I'm going to spend the second part of this video going deep into that aspect because it's very noteworthy. But we'll save that till the end. But one point to notice here is that, while we do have these wide open stars and everything's saying go, 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 this tendency for Jupiter and squaring Uranus to create recklessness and the throwing of the baby out with the bathwater, or zealotry, and even cults, like there are cult leaders, I talk about this later, that have had this aspect in their charts. It's just a weird one, and it's going to be pretty intense. So if there's something that you're doing or trying to do that seems like it's completely crazy, even for you, okay? Because, Aries people, we do pretty crazy things, and we don't really think that much of it, right? We don't really see obstacles the way other people see obstacles. We just kind of blaze through them. And some of that will be appropriate at this time. But it would be good to have some people that you trust, that you can run things by, that you might be doing, to kind of be your voice of reason, because there is this chance that excess zealotry could lead to regrets, and that you might be ready to just throw out a whole bunch of stuff, whether that's literal or whether that's emotional or mental or whatever it is, and that you might actually need some of that stuff or want to have some of that stuff and wish you wouldn't have done it in such a one fell swoop, okay? So and this is going to be a little bit harder for Aries placements this month. Some of the people with more earth energies, And if you have earth energy within yourself, then you're part of this. But people with more earth energies are naturally more suspicious and slower moving, right? Not us. We're like, whoa, we're going to do that? Okay, yeah, we're going to do that. And this is a time when, even though it can be well suited, you really just have to like make sure your discernment level is high so that you don't get yourself in more trouble. So basically, or in trouble about it. So basically, a must know is just avoid overcommitting, avoid overpromising, avoid overdoing. It's going to be difficult to do that, but just keep these words in your mind, and they could help to kind of guide you around any possible issues. Okay, so another must know is that we are going to have more news and events coming this month that are from the eclipses, but also from other aspects. This is going to be a very information-rich month. Eclipse season in general is very information rich. So November and December and now January, you're going to learn things. You're going to have things develop. You're going to have opportunities come, things occur. In many cases, they're non-negotiable. If you have wiggle room and you have a say in what you're going to do with these things, that first half of the month is really good for kind of feeling into that and maybe doing something with it. But if you're not sure, and you're getting that feeling to just kind of hold off, you don't have to be afraid. This year is not like last year where we had like an open window at the beginning of the year and then we weren't going to have it again all the way till the end of the year because of the retrogrades. It's not like that this year. There's this big bursting out in the first half of January, then there's this pulling back in, and then there's going to be a big bursting out again in March and April. And so anything that you can't do now or that you're not sure about now, you might need the retrograde to kind of fine tune. You will have those open stars and even better stars in some ways in March to bring things out. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to scramble. You can just follow the flow and follow your gut. Okay, so we are going to have clashes this month between Jupiter and Mars and Saturn and Uranus, and those are going to be, pretty fierce and pretty a lot of things in succession. So it's just gonna be like this and then this and then this and then this, and we'll be feeling that. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It could be a pretty stressful month for everybody, and there could be changes that go on in intensity, and even for Aries, the changes might be coming so fast that it might make you dizzy. And then there's the alternative side of the possible potential, which is that, you're ready for more change and it's not quite yet gelled, but it's like it's getting closer and maybe there are other pieces that still have to be, filled in. So that's definitely something to consider. So, the aggression that was from, the Mars retrograde that we've kind of seen going on because of these Mars clashes, people might be on edge. You might be one of those people. So just kind of walk carefully and try to keep your stress levels as low as possible. And as always, every sign needs this, but Aries really needs this. Whatever you can do to support your nervous system, your B vitamins. I'm not a doctor, so any of these things you have to make sure these are okay for you. But the things that support your nervous system are things that Aries needs just by nature of being how we are. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to be on any pills, right? And I can understand that for pharmaceuticals, but at the same time, for nutrients and supplements, sometimes your nervous system just needs something, and your adrenals need food because of just how you are in life, how you greet life. So don't hesitate to try to get support in the nutritional areas because it could do an absolute world of good. And another must know specifically for Aries now is that your first house is very full. That's your physical body. So you might be needing to direct attention to your physical body. And finally, hopefully ironing out some of these stress management issues, some of these nutritional deficiencies and other things that could have been causing you to experience stress in a more stressful way. When our adrenals are working well, that process of navigating stressful situations, it's not always like, okay, I'm fine. Oh, no, I'm really stressed. Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm really stressed. It could be more of a smooth process of how we handle stress. Okay, so this is something for this month to focus on if you can. Okay, so now I have a list of Aries January 2021 must-knows specifically for you. The first is that Soak up the last juicy bits of fellow fire sign movements early in the month before the Earth frenzy starts to take over. Okay, so we've got juicy bits of Venus still left in Sagittarius. That's yummy for all Aries, but especially those of you in the late degree placements. So those of you like April 11th through the rest of the sign, you still have your Venus kiss coming. Venus kisses look like boosts with your romance, coming to, something great with your money, boost to your self-esteem, accomplishing something that makes you feel good, getting your serotonin levels lifted so that, you just feel better in general. Venus kisses can look like that. Compliments, recognition, things like that. So every Aries can have that boost, but those of you who are in the late degree placements, so like, April 11th through the rest of the sign, or the 20 to 29 degrees, you're going to get extra kisses there. Also, those of you at the very end of the month, so just the last few days of the sign and the last few degrees, you're going to get your extra boost from Mars crossing over your sign. Now, it is true that Mars crossing over your sign could have caused some ruckuses, especially in the retrograde process. But those of you at the end will have some noteworthy oomph and push from Mars in your sign going over your Aries placement. Oh, I also need to tell you that this is for you if Aries is your rising sign, Aries is your moon, Aries is your sun, Aries is your Venus or Mars or whatever, your Mercury, whatever you watch for. Most people just watch one horoscope for their sun sign because that's all they know. But it's part of my mission to educate you on the fact that that's a good piece. And if you're doing that, I'm very happy about that. And it's much more complex than that. And if you want to jump into the yumminess of the complexity, then I'm your girl, because I'm always coaxing you to go deeper into this work and giving you the tools and the information within the readings for free so you can do this, okay? So I would suggest running a free birth chart and seeing more about your placements, because things that I talk about like degrees and how many placements you have. You might have a bunch of placements in Aries. You might have other things that you need to know about that you can use my work more for. Also, the second thing is if you are a late degree placement, so April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees, I always suggest that you all also watch Taurus placements. I mean, my Taurus horoscope, because your reading is more complex because you're in a late degree area and you're kind of in between two charts. So there are going to be pieces for you in the Aries report, and there are going to be pieces for you in the Taurus report. So I suggest that you do a little bit extra work and pick up those extra pieces for yourself. Okay, so the next thing is that yummy full moon in Leo on January 28th. Okay, so although we do have a massive showing of Earth planets this month, which is going to be, well, actually, let's talk about that before we get to this full moon. Every personal planet, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they're all going to move through Earth placements at some point this month. Earth placements in general make difficult angles for Aries placements. So you will feel that. But these are the types of movements that are short-term Earth, not like the long-term Earth with Jupiter and Saturn having been in Capricorn and like that sort of rugged, terrible thing that you've all gone through. If you haven't watched my reports, my November, December reports, where I've really been kind of letting you know that in some ways it's an end of a difficult era for many Aries placements, because that assault from those outer planets squaring, making a difficult angle to your placements, that is done. But now we have a little short-term burst of the closer planets making that same angle, which you'll feel, but it's not as serious and long-term as those outer planets. So I just want to differentiate there. So basically, these Earth planets make us get hemmed in and make us get really directed. And Aries can be very directed, but we like to be self-directed, right? These Earth planets or placements, they want to have direction come from other places. Like the government says you have to do this. Your parents say you have to do this. Your boss says you have to do this. You're, whatever, taking care of your family, so you have to do this. Whatever, things like that, like things that you may want to show up for also, but that you might not feel like doing that at that time. That's that energy that's going to come up quite a bit this month as these Capricorn placements, and then Mars is going to move into Taurus. it's like making you do some things that you don't really want to do because you're not feeling like doing it right at that time. But if you remember that I'm saying this and you make a list of tedious tasks that need concentration that you might have to do in the upcoming months, let's say like January, February, March, or anything that's past due, make a list and try to do them now, because all those earth planets will give you more discipline, will give you more consistency, will give you more focus, and you really want that, right? So like, do your taxes early is basically what I'm saying. I know I will be. I always try to do that each year anyway, but you'll feel it. You know, it will grind against your natural way of being in a way. But I think that you'll be glad that you did. And also things like health appointments, you know, blood work, things like that, especially the first half of the month. Just kind of like annoying things that you have to get done that require organization, and like making the calls and making the plans and things like that. Okay, so we are going to have another like boost of fire at the end of the month, even though the Venus and Mars fire fun is going to end at the beginning of the month. The Leo full moon on January 28th and the days around that is going to be in a nice angle for Aries. And everybody's going to feel that. But especially the early placements are going to feel that, okay? So this time, you March-born friends and those in the very beginning of April, you all are going to feel this more. And the ones who will feel it the most will be the very last days of March and the very first couple of days of April. The closer you are to 9 degrees and the closer you are to like around March 30th as your birthday, you all will feel this full moon blessing the most. But every Aries has a chance to have wonderfulness from this. And this energy can be, you know, a creative project coming to life. You're inspired, something with your kids, good news involving children, you know, anything having to do with like a bucket list thing being crossed off, or some plans or something starting to gel, or some hints of some future things that you've been wanting to do that might be able to actually happen. And so that's true for all Aries placements. Those of you towards the end of the sign, now we're talking back again for like the April 11th through the rest of the sign, you might have some of that in your home sector, home, family, real estate, okay? Because it's kind of on the line there as far as where the moon's effect is going to be. It's like on the line for those of you in the later degree placements. Okay, so now we have something else very exciting to talk about for Aries. We've got a lot to talk about this month for Aries. And that has to do with your work sector blowing up like crazy in wonderful ways, pressure being taken off your work, and recognition coming in from the work that you've done. And this has to do with Jupiter and Saturn leaving. This also has to do with the sun highlighting, I mean, in a short-term, lighter, more superficial way, the sun and Mercury moving through, Capricorn, are lighting up your 10th house of work and career. But also the fact that Saturn and Jupiter are getting out of there. In December, they started this movement towards leaving. And if you're early in the signs, if you're a March born, you're going to start feeling this relief and get your Saturn gifts even sooner. We really have to talk about this Saturn gift thing, okay? Because Saturn busts your chops. And oh my gosh, have Aries have had their chops busted by Saturn making squares for all of these years as it's been moving through Capricorn. But once it leaves, it brings a gift. Okay, so those of you who are in the March born, your gifts might come this month. And for the rest of the Aries, you might start to see hints at what your gift is going to be. And even before the time, like where I'm recording this, like the end of November, December, since Saturn takes so long to go around, it's not just like a line of delineation, like, okay, now it's here, or now it's influencing or not influencing. It's like an orb of energy that rolls out of where it was and rolls into where it's going, and you feel it before, and you know, it lingers afterwards. But Saturn is known for bringing very notable long-term gifts. So you might have, maybe you're retiring, or maybe you're going to a different level in your work, or maybe something that you've accomplished now over this time is going to open you up to new great things in the future. So every Aries can feel that, but those of you who are in the March born or 0 to 9 degrees, you're more likely to get gelling of that sooner, and then it will take longer for the rest of you to have that happen. But those of you who are in the first part of April, you all might start seeing this pretty quickly. It's everybody towards the end, like again, April 11th through the rest of the sign. You might have to wait a little longer for your gifts because Saturn is still actually working on your 10th house sector and getting you to where you need to be with your work. But just know that the gifts are coming, okay? And the more you put the work in, the more you get the gifts. So do your work. Okay. Let's see. So now the other thing that I wanted to talk about that's a must know for Aries for January 2021 is that Mars in Aries is going to be done. I alluded to this kind of when we were talking about the fire frenzy ending, but I want to go in a little more detail here. Usually having a planet move through our sign adds a lot of intensity. It depends on what the planet is. Mars rules war and aggression, but also inspiration and ambition, has been spending an inordinate amount of time in Aries. Doesn't usually do that. Usually blows through a sign in like 10 weeks. But because it went retrograde in Aries, it spent half of last year in Aries and these first few days of January in Aries. So even though a lot of blessings could have come from that, and you can see some things having gelled in any area of your life, in all areas of your life, it still was intense. So you're going to get a break from that now as Mars is going to move into Taurus. Okay, and now it's going to start to get really focused on continuing to shore up your finances, continuing to shore up your security and your self-sufficiency, and for some people, getting a lighter environmental imprint, doing certain things more green. Those all might come into focus too. But Mars, wherever Mars is in the chart, it's like you're hot on that thing. So I always think about Mars as the border collie of the zodiac. So I have border collies. That's why I think of this all the time. So when they like I have one that brings a pine needle. I have a pine tree in the yard, and she finds pine needles, and she brings pine needles, and she'll stare, and she wants the pine needle thrown, and she'll do that all day long. So it's like that, like wherever Mars is, whatever house, which is their fields of experience that we have as humans, whatever field of experience that Mars is in, you're like hot on that subject. So it's going to be moving into this, these things that I talked about, the self-sufficiency, the money, the finances, the security, the savings, the, getting debt squared away, like anything with your finances, your income, you're increasing your earning power, all of that. So you'll notice becoming hot on that. Okay, so we've got one more thing to talk about, and that is when the planets move through Aquarius, as they're going to phase through these earth signs and move into Aquarius. At least the Sun and Mercury and Venus are going to do this, and all of that's going to happen also in this same month after they've done their Capricorn thing. Then this is really great for Aries because it makes this beautiful angle. The 60-degree angle that Aquarius makes to Aries is the ingredients on a counter angle. I always call it that because it's like life gives you these beautiful ingredients to make a pie or a salad or whatever you want to eat. But you got to do something with them. Okay, so just know that a lot of ingredients might be coming from these Aquarius placements, and that will be in January. That will also be in February, and you might have to do something with them. But that's definitely more yay for Aries. Okay, so in summary, we've definitely got a potential crop storm of ultimate proportions, and I'm smiling as I say this because why not, right? I mean, things have been so terrible, and if we can't keep like our hope and just the morbid sense of humor about okay, life is, giving us some cruel jokes here, we've got to be able to see what's going to keep us uplifted, see what's going to keep us in creative resourcefulness as these challenges come. But I think Aries is very well equipped to take advantage of the new opportunities that are coming and the creation of new industry and the new direction and our new experience. Okay, so let's get down into the nitty-gritty of understanding this Jupiter square Uranus aspect. Unlike the upcoming in February Saturn square Uranus aspect, we're only going to have one of these Jupiter-Uranus aspects this year. The Saturn one will have 3 times, and we'll talk about that more next month. That's going to be a very big deal too. But it's important to understand, there are must-knows about this transit because it is a biggie. Whenever the outer planets come in close connection, or exact connection in this case, it definitely brings notable things globally down to the individual level. Okay, so the first must know here is that you will feel very anxious. Okay, the energy of Uranus really rules like the nervous system in some ways. So it's like when there's an aspect with Uranus, we often feel like our fingers stuck in an electric socket, and so the anxiety levels run super high, and those are going to have to be managed. So you just need to know that going into this month, even though we've already had, you know, a long series of that going on, this month is going to be like that as well, okay? The second thing is that even though, as I mentioned earlier, since all the planets are moving forward, it is a good time to move forward and to make decisions and to do important things, especially in the first half of January before Mercury starts to slide into its retrograde process. But there's a caution here with the Jupiter square Uranus because people can feel really, really, really compelled to do crazy things. And some of those, if there's like a calculated risk involved, could turn out really well. But there could be an interference with the discernment process of figuring out what those things are. So like extravagance, erratic behavior, you know, because Jupiter rules excess. So like big purchases, big commitments, big, you know, trying to cut something off or big decisions about like kind of making a clean slate, a clean cut, and then moving forward, like trying to cut ties completely. There is some caution with that. So even though the stars are moving forward and it is good to make these big decisions in some ways, if you can leave your lifeline intact, if you can leave an option, you know, for holding on to some of the old stuff until you can see how the new stuff shakes out, because you might wish you had some of that stuff to go back to, that's a very, very major must know for this aspect. If you've got that option to like wait a little bit until the tensions aren't as high, wait a little bit to see if you can find a bridge option that includes both of the things that might be in question. You know, it's just can be a little bit sketchy making a clean cut at this time with this aspect. People are also very, receptive to other people's intentions. So whether it's on your personal level with somebody close to you, or whether it's in a level of like a leader or a religious leader or a political leader trying to exert or say things, people are going to be very open to suggestion at this time with this aspect. And actually, there are cult leaders, known cult leaders, that have had this aspect in their natal charts, like the capacity to woo somebody over into something that seems so exciting, like it's going to solve all the problems. Just be very wary of anyone or anything that says, now all your problems are going to be gone if you do this thing, unless it's something that's low stakes, low commitment, you know, has protections in order, isn't like one of those big clean cut where you're just like completely separating. You know, if it's something that seems reasonable, and maybe you might not even know if it's reasonable, that's the difficulty. You know, I would say have like people that you trust to cross-reference before you do anything crazy with this aspect, okay? So, let me see what else I wanted to tell you about this. So the energy of rebellion is going to be very strong because of the planet Uranus ruling Aquarius, and now Jupiter's in Aquarius and Saturn's in Aquarius, and then we've got these aspects with Uranus which rules Aquarius, you know, so it's like the energy of like being a rebel, breaking free is going to be very strong, and you will be able. That's one of the very plus sides of this aspect, even though it is a challenging aspect, we could call it, it's a point of tension. You can break free of things that were shackling you. But the more you direct the breaking of the shackles to things like clearing up addictions, clearing up debt, clearing up, you know, overspending, like clearing up bad habits, the more you can be more sure that it's going to be a good thing what you think that you are breaking free from, okay? Because breaking free for the sake of itself might seem very alluring at this time, and people could make some rash decisions that they later regret. So a lot of caution and care has to be given. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so there, along with this can also come like impatience, because you're wanting to make it happen, and it's towards the middle of the month and things might start slowing down again, or here I'm telling you, like, take a little caution when you move forward. So there could be some of this like frustration with not feeling clear about something. But if you don't feel super clear about something, then definitely I would suggest waiting it out a little longer. The energies will be much more clear in March and April for trying to make some big decisions again, in the event that you're not completely clear at this time. Some other things about Jupiter squaring Uranus are, first of all, that it may coincide with major trajectory changes. And this is an interesting topic now because we've just come out of eclipse season and we're still kind of getting some leftover things from the November, December eclipses, which definitely are trajectory changing and can really set people on a completely different course. And this aspect does the same thing. So it's very kind of eclipse reminder like in that way, where it's, you could see something come, and if it's coming out of your control and you can't do anything about it, then your choice is to clear up the resistance and accept it, or look for possible solutions or ways around it. And if those can't be found, then, to try to regain your peace on the topic. But it does often coincide with very dramatic life changes, and also changes in fortune. So people may make a bunch of money and all of a sudden be rich. People may lose a bunch of money and all of a sudden, have a reversal of their financial situation. So those types of things can happen. An analogy that I've been thinking of for this aspect has to do with those stories we hear about certain people who have become famous too fast, or become famous too young, or become successful too young or too fast, or just too plain successful and famous, right? Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is true for all people who are successful or famous, obviously, but there are many people we've heard of that have just not been able to handle that level of change and that extreme change, or that extreme experience, and it has burnt them up. And this energy is very much like that. So many people might be thrown into the spotlight, thrown into fame, thrown into fortune, or thrown into not fortune, just like a big change. But a lot of it can be very positive, like, you get your dream that you worked for, but you need some help and support managing the openness that comes with it. Sometimes this aspect can bring too much freedom and too many options, and the confusion that comes from those things, So definitely, if you're in a position like this where something like this occurs, remember what I said, so that you can seek out support to help you stay grounded and help you stay centered and help you make good choices during the major changes. Because zealotry is another word that I'm using to describe what this energy can bring. And even though the aspect is happening on the 17th of January, this is a big one. So we're feeling this, even a month or more before it's starting to build, and we'll feel it after. It'll flow after. It's like, it's a big one. We're not going to feel it just on the day and the week of this. This is a trend that's kind of building in our subconscious. It's making itself more external the closer we get to the middle of January, and then it's present all through January. Really, this is strong, and then it will start to fade out, into February and into the beginning of March. Then that cycle will be complete with this particular aspect, but it is much more longer lived, and it can create very permanent effects as well, depending on the decisions made. So just be excited if your life is expanding in wonderful ways, but just keep your center and be very cautious with the decisions that you make, understanding all of these pieces now. Okay, so I know I've given you a lot to digest here. If you would like to have even more information on how you can understand and utilize the energies at play from the planetary perspective, then go to anniehelpsyou.com. There you'll see lots of blogs that I've written on astrology and other topics, but there you can also sign up for my free email newsletter. And with that, you will get delivered into your inbox 1 month early my written report of the sweet and salty aspects and their dates and what you can expect from them, as well as my general write-up of the month in a written version so that you can go back over it and digest it. So it's not a transcript of these videos, but it is a summary and some more details about the general energies at play. Okay, so you can get that at anniehelpsyou.com, and you'll also receive my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free as a member of my email community. Okay, so all that's at anniehelpsyou.com. Then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and you'll see my written horoscopes up 1 month early, as well as book recommendations for each sign for each month, depending on the sun, where the sun is for each sign, plus healthy lifestyle and spiritual lifestyle blogs on there. It's a beautiful site. You will love it. So you can check that out, cozybysweetstarlight.com. Definitely also go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I've got free courses there on health and wellness, also on increasing your abundance. You can see those free courses, and you can see my paid course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you think I put a lot into the free resources that I give you every month, you should see what I do for the paid resources. It is quite crazy comprehensive, and it will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do in astrology, whether it's just for your own self-development and helping your family and friends, or if you'd like to include it in part of a professional offering, or just do astrology as your work. I will teach you what you need to know to do that. So you can see all of that there. And very exciting, it's definitely time to get my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. It's out officially on December 8th of 2020. You can pre-order it before then, and you can find it on Audible. It's on Kindle. It's in a print version. It's on Barnes & Noble Nook. It's a beautiful hardcover reference book that you'll go back to time and time again. All of the Books A Million stores and all of the Barnes & Noble stores in the entire US has ordered copies of this book. So you should be able to walk in and get it unless somebody's bought them already. But you can also order them on Amazon and at independent booksellers, many independent booksellers worldwide, and also some big booksellers worldwide have also stocked this book. So you can find it pretty much anywhere. So you can see that, more of that, by just searching for Planetology and my name. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next month. Bye.